Bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum rum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Hi, friends. Dolly in Pennsylvania and Lynn in Los Angeles. Hello, everyone. Esther from DC. Irene in Montreal. It's great to see you, friends. It's wonderful. And Zelda from Oakville, Ontario. Merry early Christmas from Oklahoma. Merry Christmas from Alaska, says Kathy. Psst, from Kansas. Hi, all. Great to see you, my friends. First, I have to say to you, my friends, thank you. Thank you for doing this with me every week. I thanked you before, but it's never enough. I really feel that I'm quite blessed to have a group of people that I meet with every Monday night for so many years, and I am I'm when I think about the year 2025 and Advent and now Christmas in a couple of days, it makes me ever so more grateful that I have people like you in my life. And I don't know you all. I know some of you. Actually, I know some of you personally. Some of you I know through the Academy or Gateway groups. I know some of you I've actually met at our big gatherings that we have in Florida once a year. And so it's a privilege. It's really a privilege to be your teacher and to have you in my life. So many thanks. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Joette Calabrese, and it's Monday night, so that means one thing and one thing only. At 8 o'clock Eastern Time, every Monday, I do this. I teach you homeopathy. I teach you what I know, what I've learned through the years, what I've gleaned, and some things that I've changed. I've changed my mind a number of times, and I'm happy to share that with you. We have to always be willing to shift our thinking if we have more information or more information is really what makes us rethink things. And so for those of you who do know me, hi again. Thank you. Yes, I appreciate you very much. Hi, Paula. See, I know some of these people. Some of you are my clients who have turned into friends. Paula's one of them. That's how it works. When I meet with people and I get to know them, you can't help but make friends of people who you're attached to on this very deep way is the way I see it. It's a deep way because this is more than just teaching you about medicines and what to use for this or that. This, in many ways, is a lifestyle. You don't have to embrace it fully, but the more you do, the better off you'll be, in my estimation. Can I get closer to the mic? Is anybody else having any difficulty hearing me? Just let me know if you're having any difficulty. And so volume a little low, volume up. Okay, I will stay closer to the microphone. All right, thank you for saying that. And I am, so what I'm saying to you is that I find myself very appreciative, very lucky. I don't want to repeat myself, but it touches me deeply when you are all here. Yes, better now. Okay, much better. Good. All righty. So let's talk, shall we? There are many homeopathic combination medicines that I want to tell you about that I've tried myself for weight loss. I find that I've not had great success with them, but that doesn't mean that they can't be successful. They're usually combinations with many medicines combined. And so I want to start by giving you that information first. There's this Newton Homeopathic Appetite Craving Control. I don't know if you can see that. I'll put my hand back here. Maybe you'll be able to see it better. Well, I'll just read it to you. It's Newton Homeopathics. I like Newton's. I like this pharmacy. They are very antithetical to the way I originally learned homeopathy, which means that they are certainly not classical. And I have, of course, as if you have followed me, you know that I used to be classical for 15 years full time in classical practice, and I abandoned that method for a practical method, which means that we combine medicine. I don't combine them. These are combined medicines through protocols that the Banerjees have used, French protocols, other protocols that I've learned through the years and have used in my own experience. And I have to say that this company, Newton, has, I'm going to guess, it looks like about 10 homeopathic medicines combined. Now, I used to believe that when you combined medicines like this, appetite craving control by Newton Homeopathics, that it meant that somebody in the manufacturing pharmacy is just looking up in the repertoire, and I'm going to show you the repertoire in a moment, all the medicines or many of the medicines that can be used for appetite control. And then just said, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, just threw it up at the wall and waited to see what stuck. I don't believe that any longer. And the reason that I don't believe that, or that I used to believe it, is because I didn't do my homework. I'm going to be honest. I did not go to the pharmacy. I never talked to the CEO, but I've gotten to know the owner of this homeopathic manufacturing company. And she took me, Perry and me, through their facilities, and I was impressed. I'm also impressed with these kinds of combination medicines through the pharmacies that I have the most regard for. That's one of them. OHM does this. Helios does this. I think Washington might have a product like this. And we used to, when I was classical, we used to consider this of no value. Or if there was any value, it was cheating. So let me just tell you that I don't think this is cheating, and some people might find this useful. Now, how did they come up with these medicines that they've chosen in here? The print is so tiny that I've written down some of them here because I just simply can't read the names of the medicines. Anacardium, antimonium crude, argentum nitricum, berberis, bryonia, chelidonium, digitalis, graphites, iris, calicarb. You see, I could keep reading this, and I'm not going to keep reading them because I'm not going to give you a definitive answer tonight, friends. I'm going to give you ideas, okay, on appetite control, excessive hunger, because I've experienced it myself, and it's been a battle of mine, at a certain time in my life, and I think I've somewhat conquered it, and so I wanted to share that with you as well. Now, when you look up, and if you have the repertory, this is the 4th edition of Robin Murphy's Meta Repertory. I'm going to page 971, and we're going to appetite ravenous. Now, I don't know that we have a ravenous appetite, but that gives us a good indication of what's going on, don't we? Let's see. What's that? Let's see. I have to read that. Somebody just pointed something out. Speaking of classical homeopathy, Radar Opus launched a free AI-powered tool, Need One for practical. Oh, I see. Practical homeopathy. I always now use combined medicines. You're right, for acutes. It's been amazing. You can use combined medicines, my friends, also for some certain chronics as well, and I want you to know that. All righty. So I'm looking at appetite ravenous on page 971, and there are so many medicines that it boggles the mind. If you can see this here, all those words down there, all the way down to the bottom of the page, are homeopathic medicines. Those are not sentences. If you're not familiar with the repertory, then let me assure you that those are not sentences. It's medicine after medicine after medicine after medicine, all listed. So that means we have to choose something, right? We have to choose a medicine. Now, could we use 1 or 2 or 3? I suppose we could. But let me also go back. Before I go any further with this, I want to also look at appetite increased. I'm on page 968, in the evening. Now, if we know that the appetite is ravenous, but it's particularly increased in the evening, that's fine-tuning this. It makes it a little more available to us. And in that rubric, we find that there are maybe, 40 remedies right here, right there. See that little list right there, from here to here, maybe 30 or 40 remedies. And then we even have times. 6 p.m., 8 p.m. Now, I've not found that to be of any great value in the work that I've done. It doesn't mean there is no value to it, but I've not found that to be so. So what we find is that it's pretty much very much the same medicines over and over again, but now they're more fine-tuned. Let's go to one more rubric here. We did ravenous, appetite. Let me just find here where I was going with this. Appetite. Oh, during pregnancy, increased appetite during pregnancy. Well, you would expect that. And soon after eating. Appetite, ravenous, soon after eating. That's on page 971. Now, I'm going to tell you that I believe that what we're talking about here is something that if we can't change our lifestyle, there's absolutely no way then we will consider this. That's the way I look at this now. And I've talked about this. I think I talked about this about a week or so ago. I could use homeopathic medicines for every little thing that comes my way, but I choose not to because I want to adjust my lifestyle, my thinking, my ability to conquer the demons in my life, the considerations that are bothersome to me. I want to conquer those via my determination through my lifestyle. However, if I'm suffering, and it's big enough, and there's not much I can do about it, in terms of my lifestyle, then of course I'm going to turn to this. So what I'm saying to you is, I'm going to urge you that if you have a ravenous or a large appetite, or excessive hunger, that you try to adjust something else in your life before you use the homeopathic medicines. Now, does that fly in the face of being not useful and not what's the word? Not counting on homeopathy? Perhaps in a way it is, but I think that when it comes to things that we can change on our own through our behavior, I think it's worth the effort. So what I have done is, and I'm not suggesting that you do this, this is what I've decided to do. I've talked about this before. I've eliminated carbohydrates and sugars. And I eat mostly just animal. So I eat eggs, bacon, beef, lamb, chicken, fish, shrimp, so the whole seafood world, the whole land world, mammals, and fowl, and the eggs. So, and I also have some dairy. I have some El Ruderai yogurt from time to time. I have some cheese occasionally, and I do eat a lot of butter. And what I've found in that is that the excessive hunger goes away. I also find that if I don't snack, the excessive hunger goes away. And it's not the day that I start to do it, that I decide to do it, but rather it happens after a few days, sometimes a week, and I go through these events from time to time because I break it. At Thanksgiving, I break it. I can see that I'm starting to get hungry again. I have that noise, that hunger noise that comes back again. And I've noticed that hunger noise comes back after about 3 days of breaking my rather strict, personally imposed diet. But now let's talk about, let's say the hunger is ravenous. The person's eating pretty well, or they're not willing to change, make a lifestyle change, and it really is causing trouble. I've tried several things, and the volume is still very low on my end. Okay, Ignatia. Ignatia is, I love what you're all coming to the table with, friends. My appetite is not increased in the evening. It's just I crave snacks in the evening. Well, I don't know if that's the same thing or not, but craving snacks is sort of an appetite, I think. You have to decipher that. Ignatia Amara 200 helps me with appetite increase. Phyllis, that's brilliant. And I think that it is something that I've taught in A Good Gut, Bad Gut in my course, Ignatia Amara can be very, very useful, particularly for women. It can be useful for men too, but particularly for women. And yes, and we can use it twice a day for a few days. Sometimes we need to take it longer, and we stop when there's improvement. And then that is caused by my emotions. Yeah, especially when there's hunger caused by emotions. That's exactly it. Now, Fernicia brings up, do you think cinna is there for appetite ravenous soon after eating, possibly due to parasites in being very hungry, eating after soon? Yes, cinna was one of the main medicines I was going to bring up because it is very bold in many of these rubrics, and cinna is one of our premier medicines for parasites. Now, there's a school of thought, I'm sure you know, that has been saying for some time that if you go to a certain practitioner, they will almost always find parasites. And I agree that there probably will be parasites. If you dig deeply enough, I think we all have parasites to a certain degree. I can't imagine living on this earth, eating lettuce, eating meat, whatever it is. I think it's mostly raw vegetables, but could be from anything, could be from water, that we don't have parasites to a certain degree. So I don't usually discuss parasites unless it is a condition. And what I mean by that is the person is losing a lot of weight or gaining a lot of weight. They have rectal itching. They have an itchy nose. There are a lot of symptoms that represent parasites. And when we see that list of symptoms, we can, or the person also gets tested, and we find that the person indeed has, let's say, pinworms. We know that's a very good choice, is cinna, not China. People confuse that. China is like the country, China. Cinna is Cina, no H. Cinna. Now, if someone was suspected of having parasites and they had a ravenous appetite or hunger that was excessive, to me that's a slam dunk. I would absolutely consider cinna. No doubt about it. Cinna 6 twice daily is what we often use for a long period of time, usually 2-3 months, because if there are indeed parasites, it takes that long to complete the action of the remedy. And meanwhile, my guess is the person would start losing weight. It's not going to be overnight. It's going to be slow and steady is my guess. So yes, cinna is one of my all-time favorites, but I'm also going to tell you another one that I think is really valuable, and that's anacardium. And now, for those of you who are my students, I find that when they see something like anacardia, they say, well, wait a minute, I don't have that psychological problem, because anacardium is a homeopathic medicine that we use for psychological problems as well as physical. But it is an excellent medicine for excessive hunger. Grazia says, do you drink enough water, Joette? That can help with hunger. There is also a book titled, They Were Not Hungry, They Were Thirsty. Yes, and also Dr., I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name, Dr. Batman-Gallen, who was the doctor who, while as a political prisoner, found that he could help people with many conditions just by giving them excessive amounts of water. Yes, and Libby says keto carnivore decreases excessive appetite. It's absolutely so. And Grazia, let me also say to you, you're absolutely right. I do not drink enough water. I forget to do so. So I don't have a natural thirst that I have to pay attention to that. But let's go back. Anacardium. You'll find in these combination medicines, anacardium is often chosen. And I think it's chosen specifically for excessive hunger. Whereas Argentum nitricum is also a great medicine for craving sweets. And then let me tell you one other one that I think is absolutely invaluable. And it shows up in the repertory here, but it's not bold. And that is chelidonium. Now, chelidonium is an all-around remedy specifically for the liver, the gallbladder, and I believe it also affects the pancreas, but particularly the liver. And the liver affects the pancreas. They're all so tightly connected. And chelidonium is a medicine that is also great because for diabetes. I'm talking about type 2 diabetes, although it could also be used for type 1. But let's talk about type 2, because type 2 is all about lifestyle. So let's talk about chelidonium, not only in that it's a great medicine for liver, fatty liver. Usually if someone is obese and if they have type 2 diabetes, there is obesity. Then there is the liver, there's fat that's collected around the liver. That's chelidonium. So if there is a test, if someone goes in for a test and it shows that the liver enzymes are elevated, chelidonium is our medicine. Now, what does that have to do with appetite? Well, because chelidonium is so closely related to type 2 diabetes, and type 2 diabetes is often related to snacking, eating sweets or carbs, of course, blood sugar, obviously, insulinemia. All of those conditions are related to the liver and the pancreas, of course, we know that. But this could be a medicine that could be very useful for certain people. So I'm going to urge, before you even consider saying, oh, I'll just get chelidonium, I'll take it every day, or I'll just take anacardium, or I'll just, et cetera, et cetera. No, my friends. I can't urge you enough to crack open good Materia Medica. They're all good. Read your Materia Medica, read up on chelidonium, and see how it fits your particular situation. And when I use chelidonium, I almost always use it in a 6C or 6X. Normally it's 6C, twice daily. And one of the problems that I find with most people is that without the belief system that this might do something, they abandon the medicine too early. It could take a long period of time. And so when we take a homeopathic medicine over a long period of time, it behooves us to be certain that it is the correct medicine. And the way you know that is by reading the Materia Medica and finding that it does fit, as well as, number 2, if there is any proving, in other words, if the person starts to get not well after using a particular medicine for a while, and you look up in the Materia Medica and that lack of wellness is actually listed there for that particular medicine, you know you're likely proving it, and it's time to stop. It doesn't mean that you can't ever use it again. It just means at that moment in time it should be stopped. Let's see what else we've got. Anacardium is indicated for intensely itchy skin, as per my Materia Medica. That's absolutely right. Donna, you're right. And so it's a great medicine for poison ivy. What about toxic liver? Toxic liver is chelidonium. Would chelidonium also work for stress eating? Well, I can't say that it would or wouldn't. I think I like what was said earlier by, let's go back to Phyllis. She says she uses Ignatia for eating around stress or her emotions. I would prefer, if I'm talking about stress eating, I'm thinking Ignatia. Let's see what else we've got. To get rid of pinworms, wash the bottom with warm soapy water for 3 mornings in a row. It washes away the eggs. Yes, but then they still carry on. It is one of the most maddening conditions. I consider it an infection. Yeah, you have to do, in my experience, with my clients, etc., I find that that's not quite enough. Let's see. Merry Christmas, Elizabeth. Okay, keto carnivore decreases excessive appetite. Yes, it certainly does. Okay, agree 100%, Joette. Keto carnivore has helped me beat my snacking issues. I have gained so much discipline. It is amazing, and the discipline is all about the blood sugar, because once the blood sugar is under control, it's so easy. You don't even have to think about it. I was taught in herbal school, says Mindy, about the nagging feeling after just eating a meal means that you didn't fill the nutrient needs of the body. I started making nutrient-rich meals, and the cravings left. I feel satisfied after meals. Very good point. I think that is absolutely so. It's not so for everyone, but it can be so for many. So we start with that. I love that. It's a lifestyle change. It's a simple little tweak. Yes. Do you think Cina 3? Okay, we already answered that. Good. Let's see what else we've got here. What about eating due to just satisfying an oral fixation? Let me think about that. Anyone have any ideas about that? Let's see what else we've got. Okay, people are writing. Okay, what was that one for type 2 diabetes? Okay, that's chelidonium. Okay, we're still good. It's not the only one. We've got a couple of medicines for type 2 diabetes. It's in my Good Gut, Bad Gut course. And if you want to go further with this, then by all means, you go to Joette's Learning Center and scroll down to Good Gut, Bad Gut. And I discuss diabetes in great detail there. Itch pinch, rectal area. Isn't that the truth, Sharon? It's exactly what it is. It's an itch pinch. That's what it feels like to have pinworms. I helped someone with stress eating using Ignatia 200, which helped within that week. Good Gut, Bad Gut, and the Mindful course gives good guidance. Thank you, Phoenicia. You're right. And that is, yes, it could stress eating, Ignatia. And I'm wondering if that question that came up with, what was her question? About oral fixation. Oral fixation can certainly be something psychological, right? And if it's psychological, I often think of Ignatia. Let's see. I was told I had dangerous parasites and amoeba from a tooth infection that didn't get taken care of in the timely manner. I've had abscesses. Would Cinna still be useful? If there are parasites, then it would still likely be useful, but we also have to go after that abscess, no doubt about it. Love this topic. Thanks, Laura. What are your thoughts about fasting for elderly people, please? And thank you. I've done a lot of fasting. My husband and I have done a lot, but we've not done any in the last few years mostly because I think it is really hard on someone our age. We're in our 70s, and I think that it's not something that should be pushed. Now, there may be those who are capable of doing so and are fine. And my husband and I were fine, and we had benefits from it, but it was rigorous. Let's put it that way. We did one fast that was, I think, 6.5 days, as I recall. And it was just water and electrolytes. We did it, and it was about 5 years or so ago, but I would not do that again. And I think it's even hard to skip more than a day. Do I have a recipe on how to make L. rotari yogurt? It's online. Check out those of you who are making L. rotari yogurt. Please put a link there if you don't mind. All right. Now let's see what else we've got. Let me also say that this question, I was told I had dangerous parasites. I would be interested in knowing, NCC Golden, how long ago that was, if you treated the parasites, and how you're doing nowadays. I think that there are certain factions of alternative medicine that consider parasites extremely dangerous and scare the wits out of people. And so I would be very interested in knowing what came of that. Let's see. Autism medication-induced eating disorder while taking a while to decrease medications. Yeah, I would say, yeah, it could be any of these medicines that we've discussed. Ignatia, yes. Dealing with grief, loss of husband, and gain 20 pounds. How often with it? Well, I almost always talk about Ignatia, regardless of what the cause is, 200 twice daily. But you would go to Joette Calabrese Grief. You'll find it on my blog. Most everything I'm discussing tonight, I've discussed at least on one level or another, either through my blog, my podcasts, which are all free, and then my courses, which are not. What are your thoughts on bowel nosodes? Do you use them in practice? I used to use bowel nosodes extensively, Manda. For years I used them. I would say about 3 years in my practice, and I've stopped using them. Not because they are of no use. I think they have a use. I was just disappointed in the perhaps I am always willing to say that I may not have used them properly, although I think I did. I mean, I was quite seasoned at the time when I used them, but I'm still open to that idea. I found that protocols are so much more readily available, so much easier, and it's a much more the remedies are also much more readily available. Yeah, here we go. Look up Dr. Davis, Dr. William Davis, for the L-reuteri yogurt recipe. Homeoprophylaxis. You're asking, do I use it? Yes, well, it depends on what you mean by that, under what circumstances. Often liver enzymes are fine, but an abdominal ultrasound will clearly show fatty liver. You're absolutely right, Michelle. Yep, I think that's Michelle. Michael. What about fasting after menopause? Yeah, I think it's okay. But you've got to try that. You got to see how this works. Do you have a link to your classes? You just go to Joette's Learning Center, JOETTES, no apostrophe, Learning Center. And you'll see and just click on classes, courses, and you'll scroll down. You'll see all the courses that I offer. Okay, I know I should not be eating any sugar, even honey, due to cancer, but the pull to eat sweets is at times all-encompassing. That is so. It is very much so. And in that case, let me also tell you that another medicine that Joepathy strongly believes in, my dear friend, Joepathy, Joe DeLavera, talks about Nat Phos, NATPHOS, Nat Phos, 6X, and using that twice daily. And when I look up ravenous hunger I do not see Nat Phos showing up in a bold. Let's see, is it here? There's Nat Sulf. Nope. No, it doesn't show up the way you would expect it to. Craving for sugar and sweets, my friends, consider the remedy, the homeopathic remedy, saccharin, with 2 C's, saccharin. What is the condition of the tooth? Is there a root canal? Oh, so I think you're talking to each other now. That's great. Well, and also let me just say that I craved sugar too, and it has been a real problem for me in my life. And there's diabetes in my family and close relatives, and so what I found is I just had to resist like crazy. For some people say, oh, it just takes a week. No, for me it took about 3 weeks, and I had to have a substitute. So I made sure I had cooked bacon already made. I had a splash of vinegar in water, raw vinegar in water, made a difference. And those you have to have some of those little techniques ready and waiting, and you cannot have any of the offending foods in the house. It's just asking far, far too much. They must not be in the house. So if you have children in the house and they must have sweets, or your husband or your wife are in the house and they ask them, please. No, not allowed in the house. If you want sweets, just please leave. Go get an ice cream. Go get a sandwich on your own so that it is not around me. It's just asking too much. Let's see. I was just at the health store, and the owner told me that they have been pressured by the government to pull 4 cell salts from the shelf in all potencies. That's fascinating, Mindy. I've not heard that. Oh, that's very interesting. Low copper can cause cravings. That's absolutely so. Does that mean avoiding fruit? Yeah, fruit's sweet. Fruit's got sugar. Yes, it does mean that. All these years we've been told we should be eating fruits and vegetables. Baloney. Nat Phos. Well, normally it's in a 6X. That's the way we find it most frequently. But if you have a C, that works too. So how do you know which remedy to choose? That's always my challenge. Yeah, well, you have to do what I'm talking about now. You look at all the possibilities. I'm giving you the possibilities. Which are the ones that come to the fore? Which are the conditions that is the most important? So if somebody has ridges on their nails and hair loss and insomnia, but they have incredible rheumatoid arthritis, the remedy you're going to choose is specific for the rheumatoid arthritis. So we always start with the hierarchy of condition, and then we choose the medicine that is most likely to be used in that condition. And then if you're using a protocol that I teach, you're going to have all the potency and frequency. I'm oversimplifying it, but that's it. Okay. Yeah, which 4? I'd be interested. And what state? Sharon's asking. I think it's in the U.S. He said boron can't ship them to the U.S. anymore. I don't know that. I'm in close touch with boron on a regular basis. Number 3, 5, 7, and 11. 3, 5, 7. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry. That seems odd, but I'm going to look into it. Okay, friends, we're going to finish now, and I'm going to say good night. And for those of you who are my mighties, please stay on, and we will carry on from there.